Dragons, I am back. So I'm here to do a very, very long July wrap-up. The problem with my July wrap-up is I am in the middle of filming a pretty long series of secret project vlogs. So a lot of those books I can't talk about in this wrap-up. So I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't do my wrap-up in two parts, and then I probably should have. But the second half of the month, like the last week, I didn't read a lot because of the Olympics and all the secret project stuff I was doing. So just know July was a really, really good reading month. I had just got back from ALA. I didn't do really any competitive readathons other than my various like Timmy's games that I was doing. Like I did Timmy's for a week with Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading. I'll link her below. I did TBR Campathon with Leandra from Leandra's from TBR Zero because I'm a part of all their Patreons. And then I just finished Bree from Four Paws in a Book, her Scattergorathon vlog. So I did like mini readathons. That will not be the case for August. August I have so much stuff to do, but I really took July easy and just kind of read whatever I wanted and kind of hoped that the books would fit. I would say the first 2 weeks of the month I read majority a lot of the arcs I got from ALA. You guys will see those. A lot of these books aren't even out yet. And then the second half of the month I really switched and read some physical books that I had in my collection. August is going to be a bit of a luck shot just because I'm doing stuff for prompts, but I do hope to get a lot of reading done. So yeah, let's do the stats. So this is my second best reading month of the year, which is not a shock because I was off. So I read 17 books. I read 6,589 pages. I read on average 212 pages a day, which is definitely an uptick for me, but I have been home a lot and really just been reading. My average page count was 387, which is really round. My average length of book normally is like 350 pages. My most read genre is YA fantasy, which I'm loving, and honestly fantasy in general because I read a lot of cozy fantasy for adults as well. I read 10 books with rep, 9 from authors I read before. I read 6 5-star books. 2 of those were rereads, and I really enjoyed my re-listening experience. I'll get there when I get there. 10 were 4 stars. Yeah, and my average rating was a 4.12. So I had a really, really... Oh, and then there was one that I think was a 3-star read, but it's not on here. Maybe I did wrong. I think one of them was 3 stars. But I read 12 new releases just because a lot of the arcs. I read 2 backlists and 3 from last year. A lot of these books, and a couple of them I'm not going to talk about, and those mostly are the backlist ones. I read 13 physical, 3 audiobook, and 1 mixed media. I started 5 series. I continued 1. I completed 2, which is really, really good for me. I caught up with 1, and I think I read 8 standalone. Again, I read a lot of these as arcs. So unless there's a sequel on Goodreads, I didn't rate them as a sequel, but some of these might become series, so I'm just putting that out there as like a caveat. And I read 3 companion, and then I read 10 arcs, which is pretty good because I just got back from ALA, and I am heading to another book convention in October and possibly in November. I got 2 from Audible, 0 from KU, 0 from the library, 0 from NetGalley, 5 owned, 0 from Everand. And I read 5 YA fantasy, 2 graphic novels, 3 YA contemporary, which is actually an uptick. I haven't been reading a lot of YA contemporary. 5 general fantasy, 1 romance, and 1 mystery. I really haven't been listening to a lot of audiobooks this month. I only listened to 2. I am still so far behind on my my podcast listening. So yeah, let's get into it. I will try to keep this short and sweet because pretty much all of these books got vlogged, and the ones I'm not going to talk about are because they're in secret projects, and you guys will see those, I think, in September. So the first book I finished on the plane was A Practical Rules for Curse Witches by Kayla Cunningham. This was the dive my foray into cozy fantasy that has pretty much captured my whole heart this month. I had such a fun time reading all of these cozy books. I gave this book 5 stars. I love this book. I was a little bit leery to read Kayla Cunningham other books because she writes a lot of horror. This is more witchy and it's definitely sapphic. So you follow this main character named Delilah, and she has a form of magic. I think her magic is not like her mother, and she basically has to decide she's going to take a calling and she's going to kind of fix her magic. But the problem is before her magic can become cemented, she has to like go on a quest, and a prince from this far off kingdom comes and says, yo, I need you to break my curse before you can get your magic. Instead of letting her break her own, she thinks her curse is that no one in their family can fall in love, and they kind of have to team up to kind of break his curse. because it's a little bit more dangerous than hers. And it's a very, very fun relationship. There's friendship. It's an LGBTQ plus sapphic story. I really liked the world. I loved both characters, and I just was really, really fun. This is a really, really quick read. I read a lot of this on the airplane coming back from San Diego, and it was just a really, really fun read. I loved the characters. The romance was sweet, but also like the friendship dynamics, the found family. There was a lot of talk about, you know, LGBTQ plus experience in this story. I love the world. I love the characters. And I am tempted to give her other books a shot, but horror scares me. So if you have read her other books, like The Delicious Dark, let me know. My friend Jen has read her stuff and really liked it, but me and Jen don't always agree on like horror and stuff. So, but this one was cozy. It was sapphic. I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. It comes out in August, and maybe be present in a few book boxes. Also, I liked how every chapter had a rule, and I just love this book. I think the friendship in the story was really, really fun. We had a lot of side characters that kind of build the story out, and I had a fun time, and I gave it 5 stars. The one that I didn't love as much, I would say, is Sub-Zero by June Perv. This is a Oni Press graphic novel. I think it was adapted from, I think this one came from Webtoon, yeah. So this is like the 25 episodes of Webtoons, and I liked it. It was like a romantasy graphic novel. They're kind of forced to be in a relationship with each other because their countries are at war. It didn't really make that much of an impression on me. I only gave it like 3.5 stars for review. The art style is really, really pretty. I sometimes struggle with webtoons because I think that they're drawn out, and obviously they are, but the last couple I've tried to read in physical form haven't really hit for me. But it was a romantasy. It had like a love and hate dynamic. There were also dragons in here, so if you want to scratch a dragon itch, I would pick it up. It just didn't make that much of an impression on me, so this book only got 3 stars for me. But if you're looking for a romantasy, I'd pick it up. The next book I read, sorry, they're all in like different piles because I read a lot of arcs. Okay, so the next book I read I was really excited for, and I read The Queen's Game by Catherine McGee. This is the same author that wrote the American Royal series, but this is set in, I don't know when this book is set, but I think it's set in like, does it say? I think it's set like more in like, you know, like olden times. This definitely gave me Bridgerton vibes, but it basically follows the Queen Victoria, and she's kind of arranging marriages for her children or her grandchildren, and it was just a fun romp. Like, if you liked American Royals and you want more a Bridgerton vibe in your story, pick this book up. I loved all the characters, and it just is basically these like romantic entanglements that you don't think are gonna go very, very well. But you have Prince Eddie, you have Prince George, you have the Nicholas, and you have these 3 women: Princess Helen of France, Mary of Teck, and Alex of Hesse, and they're kind of in these romantic entanglements with their grandmother trying to solve like their romantic woes. And it was just a really, really quick read. I gave this book 4 stars because I didn't feel that connected to the characters, just because I didn't know who they were. I felt like if I had a history lesson and knew who these people were, the book would have hit a little bit better for me. But by the end, I was super captivated and really, really wanted to read more, so I'm really curious to read book 2. But this book was an unexpected delight, and it gave me Bridgerton vibes, and I have been in my Bridgerton era. I took a little bit of a Bridgerton break with the Olympics, but it's really, really hit, and I gave it 4 stars. If you were really a fan of the American Royal series and want something that is more historical and has some historical connection, I would definitely pick the series up when it comes out in October. But definitely a 4-star read for me as well. And then the next book that I read was another one from an author I read before, and this is where my contemporary journey sort of started. That was also contemporary too, but just in a historical sense. I read Kisses, Codes, and Conspiracies by Abigail Hang Wen, and I really liked this book. I gave this book 4 stars. So this is a really action-packed thriller, or an action-packed thriller. You basically follow this character. They're best friends. They had kind of like a moment at a dance. They're kind of living together because there's the girl, her dad died, so she's kind of living with her best friend. They decide that they can't do anything with each other because that would be bad. His girlfriend comes back to town, and things kind of go from there. There's a lot of mystery, thrillery elements to this story. It was a really, really quick read. Like, I read this book in like 2 days. I mean, again, I was off, so it wasn't like that big of a shock. But I had a really fun time with this book. The only thing I will say is that it was super fast-paced. I felt like the first 50 pages you got to know the characters, and then the second half of the story was all about the like the action and the drama. But I liked it. It talked a lot about found family. It talked a lot about family dynamics. And it was just a fun second chance romance at the heart of the story. I really think that the other character might get a companion book, which I would definitely read. And I had a fun time with this story. I really, really liked it. It just didn't hit as much with the characters as I wanted, but that's really hard in a mystery thriller sometimes. But I did really enjoy it, and I gave it 4 stars. This comes out in August, and I think it'll be a great beach read because it was definitely a quicker read for me. And then the next book I read was definitely one of my favorites of the month. I've read a lot of cozy fantasy, but this one was just really, really unique and different. And I picked up A Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Liang, and I devoured this book. I love this book so much. This is like the perfect book that I think had a perfect balance. I'm going to talk about another one that I think had a good balance of plot and character and cozy vibes. So you basically follow a character named Tao, and she's an immigrant to the society. You could tell that she says it. And she's basically a teller of small fortunes. And she can kind of look into your future and tell something small. Nothing big. She could tell something small about your life. And she's kind of going through kind of telling her life. And she winds up encountering these 2 people that are kind of trying to find his little daughter who has, been missing. And she tells him that he will see his daughter again, and his daughter is missing. So they kind of like go on an adventure together. They kind of get another adventuring together, and it's just so cute. Definitely low stakes, but the plot in this story really pushed the book forward. Every character in the story had a plot. Every in this character was looking for something. This book really focused on self-discovery, but I love the dynamics between all the characters. I love Tao as a main character. Also, like Spell Shop I'm going to talk about, there is some political stuff happening in this book, like not as heavy, but you do see Tao's struggles. There was also a baking character. There's the man looking for his daughter. I would love to see more books in this story, and I devoured this book. I gave this book 5 stars. It might be my new favorite cozy fantasy that I've read, and I just love this book. So yeah, definitely check this out when it comes out in November. They have a really pretty edition that I'm probably going to snag when it comes out. But I love this. If you were suspicious of cozy fantasy, I would pick this book up because it had a little bit of everything. It had cozy vibes. The stakes weren't as big. There was political intrigue. There was plot. There was a lot of characters that I think helped flesh the story out. And I really love this, and I gave it 5 stars. So, again, I really apologize that none of these books are out yet. But the second half of my list, a lot of them are currently out. So, just know that. And then I'm going to talk about these 2 together because I did wind up listening to pub dates with Amy Kaufman and KJ Armstrong. KJ Armstrong is pregnant, which I'm so happy for. So I wound up rereading The Isles of the Gods, which I gave 5 stars the first time I read it, gave 5 stars the second time I read it, and Nightbirds, which I literally listened to them as they were like doing the podcast breakdown. I'm about 2 months behind. But these were some of my favorite books of 2023. I'm really excited to read the sequels. I got approved for both arcs. But these are my hidden gems. If you want some YA fantasies, this is set on the sea. Has some seafaring adventure stuff at the super end of the story. Pick these up. This one follows a young prince as he misses his deadlines to stop the gods, and he has to team up with a sailor girl named Sally to kind of save the day. The cliffhanger, if you've ever read an Amy Kaufman cliffhanger, you know you're going into it. There's also a bookworm character in the story. I've talked about this book so much, so I don't want to talk about it again, but I gave this book 5 stars for my reread. So nervous to head into Heart of This World. I'm probably going to read it on my birthday, which will be emotionally devastating, but we'll get there. But yeah, really excited for this one. And Nightbirds is a 1920s story where girls can gift their magic with a kiss. You have 3 very, very different characters. These also are very, very LGBTQ plus stories, which I would recommend if you're looking for that as well. But yeah, very, very excited for the sequels, and I had to do a reread before I dived into them. So those are ones that I read last year, so they're rereads. I don't really reread a lot. I definitely re-listen to, and that's how I listen to those. I listen to them. And then I read another cozy fantasy book. Oh, did I miss one? No, I think I missed one. Did I miss one? Okay, I'm just going to talk about this one now. I also read The Lies We Conjure by Sarah Henning. I think I missed this one. Okay, yeah, I did. Okay, I also read this one, The Lies We Conjure by Sarah Henning. And this was pitched as Knives Out meets The Inheriting Game with a supernatural thriller. I like this book. I gave this book 4 stars. I felt like I enjoyed it. I think that it definitely has inheritance games elements to this story, but you basically follow these two sisters. They're working at a Renaissance fair, and they're kind of picked up by this young woman that says, hey, can you come to this house party? You sort of look like my granddaughters. I'm pretend to be them at this house party. They go there. A murder happens. The woman that they're with just leaves them there, and they start to realize that the people that in this mansion are witches, and they are basically have to figure out who is killing everyone. I really like this story. I didn't feel super connected to the characters because unlike when I read the Inheritance Games, which the characters in Jennifer Lynn Barnes stories are so well fleshed out, we only really had two, Auden and Ruby, as the main characters in this story, and I didn't feel that connected to anyone else, but it was a quick read. Like, I was captivated. I think that Sarah Henning really explained her world well. I gave it 4 stars. I'm really excited to keep reading more from this author, and I like the foray that she did into like a new genre, so I was excited about this one, and I gave it 4 stars, and think you should definitely pick it up in September, I think it comes out, but I did enjoy this one. I just didn't feel that connected to the characters. And then the next cozy fantasy that I read was This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. So I didn't know this until I was like looking at the back of this book. This E.B. Asher is a pen name for Bridget Morrissey, Emily Weberly, and Austin Sigmund Broca. And I have loved everything that I read by Emily Weberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. So I went into this book really enjoying it. I gave this book 4 stars. I think this book has a stronger plot. This book is a fun time. It's very, very romantic-y. It's like cozy romantic-y. If you've ever read F.T. Lucan, so this is Ever After, very, very similar premise. You follow these 3 main characters, and they basically save the day. They saved their kingdom, but their 4th person that they were with died. So after they save the world, they kind of are all dealing with. So you have Beatrice and Elwyn, who are best friends, and you have Gawain the Great died, and then you have Claire, who's kind of the band, like, you know, that's left over. And you kind of follow them as they're kind of forced to go back together because the queen is getting married and she wants them at their wedding. They go to the wedding and they have to go on an unexpected adventure. It was a really, really fun read. I think this book was definitely more about the emotions and self-discovery of what happens after Happily Ever After. How do you deal with that when your leader dies? So the first, I would say, 200 pages is very, very slow, but I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I love these characters. Emily Weberly and Austin Sigmund Broca write such good second chance romances. I was captivated by Claire and Beatrice. I really, really was. And I also love the sapphic elements of the story that Bridget wrote. I had such a fun time with this. Definitely think you should check it out when it comes out in September, but I had a great time. This is definitely more of a romantasy. This is definitely more of an action adventure questy story, but they both do have questing elements. This book, I think, just captured my attention on the plot a little bit more, and I gave it 4 stars, and definitely think you should check it out in early September. But again, I am really in my cozy fantasies era, and this book definitely helped. Then I read a couple of books for a secret project. You guys will see that vlog later. I don't even know when you're going to see the vlog, but you will see it. But I'm not going to talk about those books in this vlogs, or this wrap up, but just know that they are included in my stats. So, yeah. I also picked up a copy of The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I actually read this with my friend Lindsay, who I met at ALA when I went there. She actually got a arc of this. I actually have 2 copies, so one of these is going to go up on Panko. But I love this book as well. I gave this book 5 stars. Again, sort of with this that I just talked about. This book and this book have very, very similar plots. I gave them both 5 stars. Similar vibes. I would say they both as well have... This book really reminded me of Legends and Lattes. You have a main character named Kayla, who is working at a library. There's a revolution. She has to run away. She runs away with her little plant that talks to her, which is really, really cute. She steals some books and she goes back to her parents' homeland. She decides to open up a spell shop. Magic is forbidden in the society, but she has these books. And she decided she's going to help this thing with magic. So if you liked Legends and Latte and liked the setting up of a shop, you know, you getting used to the community, I would pick this book up. There was like an undercurrent of political upheaval in this story that I really liked. The found family vibes in this story and in this story are superb. Gave this book 5 stars. There's a little root plant. There's a little cactus that I just devoured, and I really, really liked it. Gave it 5 stars, but if you're looking for something that will kind of replicate Legends and Latte vibes, I would pick up this story. It was really, really cute. I'm going to have to do a cozy fantasy recommendation blog. At this point, I'm going to have so many, but this one was really, really fun, and I gave it 5 stars. And then I read Mirror of the Beast by Alexandra Bracken. I will have I am on a blog tour for this. I just got this edition from Barnes & Noble, so I will hold it up. I listened to this book. I got an ALC from Libro FM. This series I want to reread. I think I'm going to take my time at some point. I don't know when. Maybe when I'm like editing and doing stuff for work in the fall. And I'm going to reread this series because I feel like I really need to reread it closer together. I love this book. I gave this book 4 stars. The one thing I felt like for me as a reader is I did not know who anyone was. When I first read the first story, I think I was very disconnected from it, and I physically read it, and I had the audiobook. Probably should have reread it. So, this is basically an Arthurian retelling. I have loved everything that Alexandra Bracken has written. So, I'm going to restart this series, but right now I'm giving this book 4 stars. It could become a new favorite series of all time, but I just like this book a lot more. I just need to reread book 1 to know all the connections of the characters, but if you're looking for a unique Arthurian retelling series, I would pick this one up because I really like everything that Alexandra Bracken has written. This story, I just feel like I need to reread book 1 to really appreciate, but I still gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. It gave me Merlin vibes, and Merlin was my favorite TV show when I was younger, so I gave this one 4 stars. And I also finished a series. Yay! So yeah, I'm really excited to reread this at some point, but I do have both arcs, so I can listen to it when I want to. And then the next book I read was another E-arc, which is technically a companion book, so I counted that. I've read Full Shift by Jennifer Dugan and Keith Seaton. This is the same author that wrote The Coven. This is a werewolf graphic novel. And I really like this book. I gave it 4 stars. This is a great early fall read. I will say that along with the next one I'm going to chat about. But I had a fun time with this one. This is also a sapphic story. There is a lot of talk about grief and death and all that other stuff. It's also a very, very clumsy romance, but there is a lot of fall elements because she is a werewolf, but there is a lot of grief in this story, and I really would love to see a finished copy, maybe reread it on my Kindle at some point. But I had a fun time with this book and gave it 4 stars, especially if you're looking for some sapphic reads. This one was really, really fun. Okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. I got a copy of Business Casual by B.K. Borison. I gave this book 5 stars. However, my poor puppy decided that this was going to be the book she ruined, so I'm going to have to go buy myself a new book. So, but that's okay, because this cannot go on my bookshelf, because she like got her paws on it and everything. This is the final book in the Love Light Farm series. This is the fall book. Definitely an early fall read. If you're looking for some early fall reads to start in September, we're not there yet. Don't rush my summer. No. Everyone's trying to rush my summer here. We don't do that, especially for teacher. I'm a teacher. Don't rush my summer. I gave this book 5 stars. This follows Nova and Charlie. I would tell you, but my dog ripped the cover off. And I just love this book. This one's a warm hug. I love seeing the characters again. Charlie is the first character's half-brother, and then you have Nova, who's Beckett's sister. And this is a friends to more dynamic. They're acquaintances. Nova's trying to open up a tattoo shop. Charlie feels very disconnected. He works in the city, and he doesn't really love it. And they have a one-night stand. I'll say that. It kind of leads to more. It's definitely more friends to more. You do see all the side characters. There's a farm in here. If you're doing Bookemon and having a hard time with that farm prompt, this book would count. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. Really, really hope one day I get to meet B.K. Borison, and I just want more in Love Light Farm series. It definitely gives me Gilmore Girl vibes. Definitely steamy. I gave this book 5 stars. This book is so steamy, but I still really, really enjoyed it. And I loved Nova. I loved Charlie. I loved how he had a found family dynamic. That's like one of my favorite tropes is found family. This is really embedded in the story, and I gave it 5 stars. And then the last book that I finished in this month was a little bit of a surprise. One of my last prompts on Bree's game was you had to read a book you didn't know a lot about, which just coming back from ALA was super helpful. So I picked up Secrets of Rosebriar Hall by Kelsey James, and I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really like the story. I was reading this as I was watching the Olympics, so I think my focus was a little bit like less than how it should have been. However, really liked it, gave it 4.5 stars. I felt like the end of the story was a little bit action-packed, and I felt like its pacing was a bit off. I'll be honest, sorry, my foot is falling asleep and I don't want to sit here anymore with the way my foot is. But I really like the story. I gave it 4.5 stars because I felt like the end was a little bit paced awkwardly because there was a lot of time jumps. But you basically follow a main character named Millie. It's also set on Long Island. I live on Long Island. But it's also set in like the 1908, which also, again, sort of gives me Bridgerton vibes. A lot of the books I was reading this month, especially the ones I can't really talk about, definitely gave me Bridgerton vibes. I'll talk about that in my other vlogs when they mention. But you follow a main character named Millie. She has a house party with her husband. She's all very, very excited. The next thing you see is 3 weeks later, she has no memory of what happened at this house party with her husband. Someone is dead and they think she did it. And then you follow her as she kind of has to uncover what is happening. How did this woman die? How is her husband connected? There's a really cute second chance romance in here, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I just felt like the end was a bit rushed. And only for like a 288 page book, I felt the ending was a bit clunky. But I really liked it and gave it 4.5 stars. So yeah, hope you guys got a snack because that was a really insane reading wrap up. Because I was so afraid I wasn't going to have enough books for all my secret projects. So yeah, let me know what was your favorite book of the month. If I had to choose, I would probably say, I really liked the Teller of Small Fortunes. I also really liked the Practical Girl Guides for Cursed Witches, and I also really did like the Spell Shop. So these are probably my favorite. They're all cozy. I'm in my cozy fantasy era. And yeah, so let me know in the comments what is a favorite book you had in July. I would love to know, and I'll talk to you guys soon for another video. Bye.